Good morning to everyone here in US and good evening to everyone in India. And also there are several people back in Europe that have been joining. They're still joining right now. So I'm glad we are continuing with these sessions of empowering women through weekend webinars. And also our main agenda here is that to promote women, especially in STEM, science, technology, engineering, art, we are also including that, and maths. So today is an awesome, we have an amazing speaker today. This is going to be a very informal session for us today. The reason is that this current speaker, she is doing similar activities that I have been doing so for such a long time through Sarah. And that is a few keywords I want you all to understand here is socio-economic, cultural, whatever the other three keywords we'll be talking about. Socio-economic culture, these three are the ones that glue our entire world together and ensures that everybody has that equal rights. So through these socio-economic culture, we have to map them to three different aspects also, which is the first aspect is the rights, socio-economic culture rights. And then the second one is what is the imbalance that is existing out there. And then the third one is impact of the imbalance and impact of correcting that imbalance. So these are the three elements that we are all trying to focus these days. And COVID has taught us a lot of things because of lack of awareness or because of lack of social responsibility. Several lakhs and millions of people are suffering right now. And still this pandemic continues. But now is the time for us to go about and make a change in our lives. Because it's not the responsibility of one person like me or Sahiti or anybody else. It's the responsibility of every one of us. So we're going to stay focused on these six key words that I have included right now in our discussion, which is socio-economic culture, rights, and then imbalance and impact. And we will continue this discussion. And I want to hand it over to Ms. Kavya at this moment. And then later, Naini, they will speak about the organizations that are collaborating with us and also about the presenter. And we'll go from there. So Kavya, can you please say a few words about SAFE Foundation?
Thank you, Cynthia ma'am. I would like to start with saying about the SAFE Foundation. SAFE Foundation is a new generation social enterprise established in 2013 as a Session 25 company, a non-profit operating from Hyderabad. SAFE Foundation works in five verticals. First one, Smart Farmer Enterprises. This is for farmer producer organizations and smart entrepreneurs for the individual farmers. And youth mentoring through camps, career advisory and mentoring programs. And Sparkle, this is for the school children, startup incubation services and CSR activities. SAFE Foundation works in People, Planet, Prosperity approach, which are aligned with UN Sustainable Development Goals. To achieve its objectives and create larger impact, SAFE Foundation works with credible partnerships across the globe. And this is a short brief about SAFE Foundation. Now I would like to ask Naini to say about Sarah Trust.
Thank you, Kavya.
Thank you, Kavya. Good evening, India. Good morning, USA. My name is Naini Padala, and I'm in 9th grade at Alpharetta High School in Atlanta, Georgia. Here's a brief introduction about Sarah Smart Villages. Ms. Cynthia Padala is the director of Sarah Smart Villages, which is both registered in India and USA. Sarah means Sustainable Eco-Friendly Rural Areas. It is a nonprofit organization that helps people in rural areas become self-sustained. Sarah Smart Villages help villagers by mentoring them to have a holistic outlook in life. Sarah works with villagers through local government officials and government organizations to provide livelihood, education, infrastructure, healthcare, reduce gender gap, while maintaining their traditional culture and social environment. Ms. Cynthia Padala is a product innovation specialist and has worked for many Fortune 500 companies. She is a passionate feminist who has volunteered actively for battered women and human trafficking victims. She has conducted fashion shows to raise awareness and funds for these causes. 2 years ago, she quit her job and went to India to work on her passion to create sustainable rural areas. There, she enrolled in National Institute for Rural Development, known as NIRDPR, to gain knowledge on rural empowerment techniques. Subsequently, she adopted 40 villages. She is currently back in the USA, working on raising awareness in the NRI community.
Thank you very much, Naini. Kavya, can you please go ahead and give a brief intro about our speaker?
Sure, ma'am. Today we have a distinguished guest, and it's my pleasure to introduce Ms. Sahiti Devi. She is a gender equality enthusiast and a rural innovation influencer. She is the founder and chief innovation officer of Impact Scientist Rural Innovation, an initiative to empower women at the village level by telling stories. She is the national ambassador SDGs at Confederation of Indian Micro, Small and Medium Enterprises, CIM SME. After completing her master's in social entrepreneurship and executive education in sustainable business strategies and a field study with UNDP in Sri Lanka, she found that her passion is to eradicate gender inequality for creating a change on every level of pyramid for fostering economic growth. She is a certified design thinking practitioner who believes in using this concept for catalyzing rural innovation. Now I request Sahiti ma'am to take over the session.
Thank you so much, Kavya. You've told so many things. Thank you so much for that once again. And thank you so much for having me as a speaker and giving me an opportunity to talk about women, especially at the ground level. So I'm Sahiti Devi, founder of ImpactScientist.com, which is a rural innovation platform, as Kavya has mentioned. And my journey of social impact profoundly began, I think my first impact, as Cynthia was talking about impact, my first impact was my grandmother, who actually got married at 14 years, and she's from a village and she has children, but she has played for under 60 for tennis in Chennai when she was alive. So I think as a woman, being from the village, I could see what potential woman has got. And it's not just education, but it's a very dynamic mix of education, skill, and the society itself. And when I say society, India is a skill-based economy. Most of our population is living in villages. So this, these learnings and these things, and my experience in Sri Lanka, especially, I came back from the United States after my master's in social entrepreneurship. And after coming back to India, there was a lot of unrest. So this is the journey of a woman herself who's trying to empower other women by telling their stories. So this impact began in Sri Lanka, where I was doing a volunteering program, an internship for UNDP on gender equality. So my role as a volunteer was to go from one village to another village in Sri Lanka and talk to a group of women that were assembled by UNDP and ISEC. And we had to talk to them about what is gender equality, what are the numbers of their country, what women can bring to the economy, what wonders can skill do, what are the social stigmas that women have to face no matter what as a default, post which they can think of aspirations. So these kind of very basic things, I was going and teaching in so many villages, and that kind of enlightened me in so many different areas, because it impacted me to think that every woman whom I'm talking to is so capable. Looks like women in the village level, especially, they have great bargaining and negotiation skills, and they can really go up. They're not scared. They don't have the stage fear, and they're very pro learning. So these were the things that kind of held me, stuck to me, and which inspired me to quit my job and start my own website. I started as a blogger. It was Impact Scientist. And then I knew I was working on goal number 5, because I knew what the sustainable development goals are. And then I used to tell people I'm a blogger. and I'm writing about sustainable development goals. And then people used to ask me, what is sustainable development goals? Students are asking, employees are asking, people in the government are asking. So very few selected people know the goals which we have to actually fulfill by 2030. I think we'll have to begin by creating awareness about the goals themselves. So I started writing about all the sustainable development goals and what they can do. And then, kind of took my audience and community of people who were following me from the sustainable development goals to gender equality that I was interested in. And I started writing stories. I started a project called Impact Hour. So I wanted to use all my experience in just sitting and talking to a woman to know her story, and use the design thinking approach on how she actually, what was her confusion about. So when I write a story, I want to know where all women were confused, what things didn't work out, what was the pain point, like financial capital enough. So, these kind of things, even women in the urban space, where they had the power to create change. I met women from media industry, from corporate. I met some movie stars and, amazing businesswomen and social entrepreneurs from across the world I interviewed, and also personally went and met them and wrote their stories. And this further kind of pushed me to think, okay, these are the women who are in a position to create an impact and a change, and they're still having issues. And the urban system, there are resources in the urban systems to actually support them if they reach out, if they speak out. But most of the women in India are actually located in our villages, 80%, most of the villages. And that pushed me to change from Hyderabad to a village. I moved to a two-tier place first, because from Hyderabad, I went to Rajahmundry, which is like a town. And in Rajahmundry, my journey began again as impact scientist, because I was not going and meeting already established entrepreneurs. But on one side, I was talking to college students, like engineering students, and trying to kind of collect the content and data about what they need in terms of opportunities, because we need to show the younger generation, like to redefine the problems. We need to kind of show the problems in a different light, to resolve and come up with more accurate solutions. And this pushed me to look into all the supply chains that included women, like the brick supply chain, bamboo supply chain, cashew nut industry, mango jelly industry, handlooms, various kind of handicrafts and village level crafts, and things which were made at the village level, especially by women. All the supply chains that included women, I used to spend 1 or 2 days in the supply chain. And okay, where are they procuring the raw material from? How are they sowing the seed? In case of handloom, for example, how are they getting the yarn? How are they coloring the yarn? What is the problem in selling the produce? So it's not just one problem. So in few cases, you need skill. In few places, at few levels of the supply chain, you need education. And at few places, actually, collaboration will help. But somebody needs to tell them that collaboration will help you. So there is a lot of there is availability, there is demand, there is supply, but then there's no common platform to channelize these things for women. Government is doing many things, but then in India, I don't know the exact figures, but less than 40% of us have Aadhaar cards. So imagine how many people more do we have to reach at the village level to create an impact for. And after that, I further moved into a village from the two-tier place, where I had a chance to meet more, like live with women, like experience the village life, what is pro and con in a village, and what changes could be brought, and how governments and corporates and NGOs can, and individuals can together play a common role to solve this problem in a better approach. Because unless we collaborate, all these 4 elements collaborate, villages cannot catalyze their growth. It needs all the 4 elements to come together. And then I started working with 3 villages, especially women weavers, and try to understand, as I said, there were 3 villages involved, and I took some produced from them, tried to sell it all over the world, and we shared 25% of the profit back to them, because ultimately for the handmade niche products, we don't give Amazon or high scale e-commerce as a solution, because there's no numbers. There are only 19,000 or 20,000 handloom saris created in Andhra Pradesh. So for that, the weaver need not know how to take a photo, how to upload all this on Amazon, and how to give away 28% of the money they make to Amazon, and then they bear losses. And then, as I said, this was a parallel journey of creating myself, withstanding myself after listening to all these wonderful stories. And because there's two sides of the story. There is like in Hyderabad, I wrote the success stories. And after that, I started writing about the trouble, the trouble or the problems or the difficulties in the ground level, what women are actually really facing on the face of it. And this got an unrest inside me. I wanted to find more into, I wanted to go more deep. I was not very happy because I felt I'm not able to economically empower them, or the impact that I'm creating is not deep enough. And then I moved from Andhra Pradesh again to Auroville, because Auroville is a place where people from more than 50 countries live. And there are hundreds of social enterprises and social entrepreneurs based out of here. There is a global community, and there is so much work that is being done on villages, like various blueprints in environment, gender equality, education, healthcare, sanitation, cleanliness. So all these things are created. So Auroville became the place where I collaborated with an organization called Mohanam, who is a village. It is an NGO that works on village and art and crafts. So now we have collaborated, and we are writing more and more stories of women who are upskilled on various levels in villages, and trying to scale this impact of taking these solutions to all the to various places, to various people, to various enterprises that who are looking for solutions to create an equal world for women. So this is my journey. Now I'm currently based out of Auroville, exploring every day, discovering new stories of women at the ground level, and trying to bring women in the urban space who are educated and who are entrepreneurs and who have organizations, trying to create an impact and bridging them to the problems and the opportunities at the village level. Thank you so much for giving me this opportunity.
Amazing. Thank you so much, Sahiti. So a lot of words that are uncommon for a common person, especially in India and sometimes in US too, have been spoken out here. So probably, we need to spend few minutes discussing about few of those points. But before that, I want to open the forum and see if anybody has any questions, and we'll go from there.
Sure.
You can unmute yourself, please, and then ask a question. If not, type in the chat box. All right, I think I'm getting... Okay. So, Sahiti, I think I want to ask a couple of questions over here because I was taking notes. First key point is the SDGs, Sustainable Development Goals. What do you think is the, of course, you've been to several villages and districts and states in India. I'm assuming that it's mostly in South India. Of course, you did say that not many people knew about it. What is their level of understanding at this moment? And how can we bring more
The first and foremost solution is to translate into regional, whatever data we have, whatever information we have. We need influencers, entrepreneurs, and various organizations to actually convert all this data into regional languages, because almost everybody has a phone. There is access to, because it's not like 5 years back, so many more people, like almost everybody has a phone. Everyone has 4G. So it's just reaching, there is a medium to reach to them. And with the COVID restrictions and with so many other restrictions, we cannot move as we could before. So digital transformation has already happened in terms of infrastructure, but there's a digital divide. Like, people know that there is internet available for them and they're using it. Like, say, for example, they're using YouTube and WhatsApp to watch movies and to watch various things and to be in touch with people and use social media platforms. But we can use the same medium to, because everything is in English there. So there is a definite way to translate all this and reach directly towards the villages. Because villages, if we explain them in the right way, it's not something very difficult or a rocket science to understand. We're just talking about quality education, healthcare. It's very basic things for everybody. So it's,
okay, yeah, that's amazing that you brought this up, because right now in our villages, every year we do some activities in our villages, and we started with 4 different activities this year, which is enhancing the livelihoods. So we provide the women with some training. First of all, we send them for an awareness campaign. Then they come back and say that, yeah, we saw all these amazing different opportunities. We want to go in this way. And then we guide them. We see if this is really viable for them, and then we take them forward. But when I came back to, so when I was here, I was like, yeah, cell phone, definitely we can make an app, put it out there, and people have to use it. But when I went to India, as you said, they are using WhatsApp, they're using Facebook, all these things, but not knowledge apps, right? So that is where the gap is. Can you please mute everyone, admin? All right, so that's where the gap is. For the rural people, now you are in village. Auroville is an amazing place. I wanted to be there. I actually did not get an opportunity in my 2 years to go and visit that place. Probably I will take some time next year or so. But it's an amazing place. But when you go to the villages itself, how do you want to? It's not now, COVID has thrown restrictions. We can't go talk to them. How do you want to approach through technology? An app would help, or we need some advocates after creating an app? What would you suggest?
You actually have the solution in your question itself. We need advocates because like, as I was talking about this fact that India is a skill-based economy, which means that our education percentages are less. And even if there is education, the quality of education is less. And once people are able to even are educated, the conversion of employment rate is less, especially in women. And this creates the need for advocates, and we need more ambassadors who can actually bridge this. We need them, like a little bit of hand holding along with technology. India needs very customized solutions. Every state is different. Every state has a different approach of, like, although Kerala is the most educated state, there are other states who are more pro social media. Like, so we'll have to depend on data. We'll have to, data, like research on each state and go with customized solutions, because India can never have common solutions. Like, each state is like a country.
Agreed. So true. So each state is like a country, but does the rural environment change too? is my question, right?
Yeah, there are some states where I see, like in Tamil Nadu, and I was working in Andhra. So in Andhra, more male dominated skill industry or villages. But in Tamil Nadu, women are on the forefront.
Mm. Amazing.
Women are on the forefront, and you see them taking lead. And there's so many women at the village level whom I'm working with. I was interviewing them for my Impact Hour, and they were actually talking in English, and I was so surprised. I thought, okay, I'll have to translate this and put the subtitles. And they were like, you don't worry. We got the skill development, like in the skill development vocational program, we learned all this. So that's a little harder to do in Andhra, but then there's more consistent, like, the government operates differently in both the places. So, people have a different relationship, women have a different relationship with the governments, because it was Jayalalitha who was here and who was the chief minister. So they've seen like a woman chief minister, and Andhra has not seen a woman chief minister yet. So, it also depends on who's leading. So we need more women in power. Like there are only 12% women in the Indian parliament, and 48% of us are women. So that is the difference also, because we need more stories from the ground level to come out. We need more and more people to share more and more stories. It's not just the top 20 stories that will inspire, because they become aspirational stories. And it's not the aspirational stories that inspire you, it's the real stories around you that inspire you.
So true, so true. Yes. And when we are in a different country, we are surrounded by luxury and we are clouded with that vision of thinking that the rest of the country is also, or the world is greener too. But going back to the villages and understanding the imbalance that is created right now, and then trying to identify, because you did mention like 4 different elements where the imbalance is, and now collaborations, awareness, and all these things will eliminate that imbalance. But what do you think is creating that imbalance at this moment? Is it just because of lack of awareness, or anything else?
I think it's the distrust. People in the villages, they're very connected to nature. They're connected to the 5 elements, and they can read people more better. Like they either accept you or they don't accept you. They either like you or they don't like you. So the reason I said we need to collaborate first, all of individuals, NGOs, corporates, and the government, we 4 need to discuss the solution and then go to them. Because if individually, if all of us go, they have different perception on, okay, governments are here for this reason, individuals are here for their own reason, NGOs are here for their own reason, and corporates will come because they want to just show their CSR. So, they'll come, they'll do something, but maybe impact will happen or not, but, their CSR project report will be perfect. So these kind of things, they create a lot of distrust. We are going and disrupting the like pristine environments, sometimes making it worse, creating problems, taking industries. So there is a mix. We are saying that we'll give you jobs, but ruining their villages. So this, we need to create trust. So that is why I left everything and I said, no, I'm going to be with them, because they need to, wherever I go, they need to believe me that I am their person. I'm staying here with them. I'm experiencing the same conditions of not having Wi-Fi, or, not having the luxury of reaching out to all the resources on time and having all the access points very closer, like how we have in cities. I've lived all my life in a city, but now after getting into entrepreneurship, now I'm only based out of villages. So I would have traveled to more than 50 villages by now. So every village has its own different flavor. But the common point between all the villages is what I told you. There's a distrust. They think, okay, everyone comes for their own reason. Nobody is actually coming for us.
That is so true. That is so true. When I came to India, that was 2 years ago, I did not understand. I wanted to create an impact, but I did not understand how to do that, because wherever I went, people wanted some change in their lives, especially I'm talking about the villagers. And when they think that there's an NRI coming, they expect money, or some kind of a scheme or something else, saying, okay, donate, do your part, take a photograph or a selfie and get out of here. And we will live our own life and you can live your own life. But that did not, motivate me further. I was there asking them what your real problems are. And they would tell me in their own sense, and I wouldn't understand. So for that reason, I literally went and lived in tribal villages where they did not have any Wi-Fi, even the phone signal. I used to go near a tree, stand there to get the phone signal. I used to tell my friends and my family saying, hey, I'm going into the no signal zone. If I don't come out of it in 3 days, and if you don't hear anything from me, you need to reach out to me. But that actually brought me closer to the real life experience of what is going on, because our ancestors came from villages and we forgot how it is about villages. We talk about all the leftist, rightist, whatever we say, we talk about empowerment. We talk about bringing change. We talk about socio-economic imbalance. But we are not understanding the true problems or mindset of the people. So thank you that you brought that perfect, please mute yourself, everyone. You brought those perfect elements out into the light. So I have one more question on that. I think there were some people raising hands before I ask further on these questions. Anyone in the audience who has any questions?
I think there was Mr. Aman. I don't know. I think
Mr. Aman or someone will raise their hands.
Yeah, now he's left, I guess.
Okay. All right. Okay. We'll continue with our discussion. Whenever they join, they can definitely ask questions. Please raise your hand or type in the chat box. So now, women, we understood that in India, especially in rural areas, there is lack of awareness on SDGs. There is a gap. There are a lot of schemes. There is the need, but there is the gap between those, connecting them all together. And we also spoke about there is a huge distrust because of all these people that are trying to bring benefit to the villagers are coming in silos. So now we said that, yes, we have to collaborate together first over here and then go as a team, say that, yes, we are here for your benefit. And also there is women lack of gender equality and all these things are causing that, gap too. But you are living in Auroville and you have several organizations over there working alongside with you, maybe together or maybe independently in different parts of the other villages. What do you think that we people or organizations, governments and all these, how can we collaborate together? Right? So how can we come together is the question.
I think you've taken the first step, like you're doing the webinar, you're reaching out to people in India and across the world and trying to bridge that gap, because storytelling and creating awareness will solve more than 50% of the problems in India. Because when you're talking about collaboration, villages and the people who are in position to make an impact, it's our time to actually learn from villages. Because when we were talking about development, industry, infrastructure, technology, digitization, and bringing reforms, we were looking at urban. We were looking at powerhouses. But when you're talking about sustainable development goals, I think villages are already there. Like we are spoiling the villages by or they're spoiling themselves by urbanizing themselves. Because when I used to go to a grocery store with my grandmother in her village, she carried her own bag always. And she got all the grocery packed up in the paper. And then there was a coir rope which was used. So there was absolutely no environmental damage. There was no pollution that we were creating. And the cooking techniques, how we used to grow our own food, and how we took care of the environment, how we used very minimal electricity. It was always sunrise to sunset day planning it's still the same in the villages, how we take care of the animals in the villages. So, the way, for example, honey, milk, flowers, and all these industries are so polluted now because of the numbers, because there are some companies who are actually adding sugar syrup on the flowers to extract more honey of the same taste, for example. So these are not happening from the villages. These are created by the developed parts of the world and parts of our country. So I think we four elements need to come together on how we could use villages to learn and teach how to unlearn to the other side, so that we can start resolving, because we need to unlearn so many things we have learned in city or in a developed environment as a default. And
Agreed.
That itself will take us so closer to sustainable development.
Agreed. So true. It's probably, the way we need to take a look at this is start initiating some pilot projects with all these four elements together. Understanding that is one more thing that you have brought up so well, Saiti, is that there are so many organizations that are doing excellent work, but new organizations are popping up trying to reinvent the wheel.
Yes.
And we are actually duplicating the effort instead of collaborating. So keeping our egos aside and saying that, end of the day, the villagers need to benefit.
Yes.
For that, how do we come together and how do we make an impact by just understanding their pain points? Yeah. So I have a question. All right, we talked about, lack of awareness and everything. We also talked about how we should create a solution. But because of this lack of awareness, what do you see is the negative impact that has been created because of the imbalance that is there in the rural and the urban, and even the socio-economic? I think some of them, they're asking a few questions. That will be my next question.
Sure.
There is a socio-economic imbalance, but how is that creating a negative impact on everybody's life? Because at the end of the day, we want everyone to take charge of this. And people think that, no, it's not my problem. I am not affected by it. So let someone take care of it. But why should we think that it is our problem? Why should I think that it is my problem?
There are two points which I would like to speak about. One is the new education policy of India that has included, bringing skill, bringing local arts, bringing local crafts, and workshops and various classes which will be, which will be taught on weaving, farming, and whatever is the local skill to the students. And because we need this to avoid urbanization, because on one side, we are talking about how cities are getting saturated and there are no availability of jobs. India is a skill-based country, which means we can actually create more renewable jobs in the rural areas. But then because of the lack of awareness, rural people are aspiring to go to the urban. Only once they reach there, they're seeing that, okay, it comes down to making 25,000 rupees, which becomes your aspiration of being in a city, but then you spend more than that. But how can you actually create that in a village? So we need more and more entrepreneurs and especially youngsters to combine purpose and profit when you're thinking of an idea, because there's no future idea that will succeed without including sustainable development into it, because we are on the verge of all the sustainable development goals. There's an urgency that we need to attend to. So all the youngsters, whether you're an influencer or you're just creating awareness, or you're starting your own company, or you're starting a non-profit, or you're working for a for-profit also, you do need to bring this perfect profit and purpose game together for this imbalance to come down.
Agreed. So true. And you brought up a very good point where you said that the youth are migrating from villages to cities, thinking that they're going to earn more money. And I've heard in the villages that we have adopted, I've heard several suicides because, as you said, they spend more than what they are earning. The lifestyle over there in cities is so demanding and so luring that they spend credit cards and all these things. And now they are filled with debt and they are not able to pay those debts back. So I think, Saiti, your video is on hold. Is there a connection problem?
Looks like it.
Yeah, Saiti is currently in Auroville. So looks like there is some connection issue. She will be joining
There was
soon.
a question.
Yes, there was a question from a participant who wanted to understand the lifestyle of people in Auroville, how they are prioritizing, what they are doing and all. While Saiti is taking time to join, I'm going to just briefly talk about what we can do, especially over here. Whoever is here on this call, there is a request for you all, is to ensure that you at least empower 10 people in this year, either by creating awareness, or by providing some life skills to them. You all are knowledgeable people. You can do something or the other to the community to eliminate this imbalance. There is imbalance in understanding the gender equality. There is imbalance in understanding the health risks, imbalance in understanding what is happening in the current life in the entire world. People are scared of taking shots about the vaccination shots. Some people haven't even taken vaccination shots and they're putting their lives at risk. So speak up. If you see that this is not right and people are suffering, let us not think that this is it's not my job, it's the government's job. Let us be bold, speak up and bring that change and create that impact. While I continue, let me see if Saiti is able to join. Kavya, can you please keep an eye open for Saiti and reach out to her?
Yeah.
All right. So one more time, let us make this an open forum. I see a lot of people here. Please unmute yourself. And yeah, there is Saiti. I want this to be an open discussion with you all. Please unmute yourself and let us know how you are impacting your people around you. Someone. Because we do have an impact scientist over here. And she is doing great work in several villages. How are you planning to impact? Someone, can you please unmute yourself? I can ask Sahiti. All right, Sahiti, are you back?
They say she's still joining.
Okay.
I think she's trying to join with.
Anyway, I have a small doubt in this artisan cluster development. Whenever I visit the clusters, particularly artisan clusters, I noticed that these artisans under the under the clutches of master weavers. Like in some places, like I think in East Godavari, Chitrika is doing some work along with the artisans, and she could be able to empower some artisans. Like that, is it possible to remove from the clutches of master weavers in each and every cluster? Particular artisans.
I can answer this.
Yes, please. Is that Saiti or who is
Yes, yes, it's me, Cynthia. I'm back. We had a
Okay.
power shutdown here, and I just came out running here. Yes.
Yeah, no. Go ahead, Saiti, please.
I have actually gone. I have gone to the Chitrika office and checked out their stuff, and they're doing a great job. But there is a problem in the handloom industry taking the master weavers because it's again monopoly. The capital remains with them, and most of the master weavers are men. 99% of the master weavers are men. So there is a gap between the women capital, and they cannot start anything on their own. And the designs that are going into the market are, because most of the master weavers, they face a lot of adulteration issues. So this gap has to be cleared by the government, because the government is actually giving a lot of power to the master weaver and the investments. Whoever is investing in the handloom industry needs to actually, investors need to change. Now, this is the time for impact investors to start acting.
Good point. So basically the awareness in the investor should be created first, rather than, trying to tackle this situation in the master weavers end, because that way we are routing the investors directly to the weavers.
Yes.
But the master weaver, according to me, I think he creates the designs, right? And he is the one who has that, the entire putting the design piece together. If we eliminate him, is that a viable solution?
Well, elimination again is not the viable solution, because half of the weavers are dependent, because most of them are skill centric and all the weavers are not creative, just like us. Like some of us are very good at technical stuff and some of us are creative. So master weavers are the people who are creators and who are leaders and who are taking the dialogue forward, and they are getting the opportunities. They are able to negotiate better prices for the weavers here. So when the training itself is happening, if, for example, if an NGO is going to a village and training the handloom industry or the weavers, they should not just, I've seen many organizations actually bringing all the master weavers together so that they can give common designs. Like say, Fabinia will come and say, these are the weavers, I want all the master weavers, bring all of them. So because it's a corporate, like there are organizations that they'll bring all the master weavers. So kind of weavers on level 2, level 3, level 4 are like really suppressed. So we as stakeholders who are in a position to make decision or put some capital and get new designs, we need to change ourselves and maybe bring equal upskilling for these people.
Agreed. But I think corporates usually think that, hey, for me, training these weavers or bringing them all together would be an extra
Cynthia,
effort.
can you hear me?
Yes, yeah. Now I can hear you. Hello? Saiti, can you hear us? Yeah. I think there is some reception problem over there. This is how villages are. So reality here, people, for you all. We have electricity problems there, water problems. We do have, power cuts and reception problems too. So this is real life of India. And when we people come out of the villages, we think that, okay, I'm going to go send money to my village, my parents. Now they're going to build a big house there and they'll increase their, popularity. But what is happening? We are creating that imbalance one more time. Is that one house has all the facilities, but the rest of the houses do not. So how are we going to bring that change is also one huge thing that we have to talk about. And we have to understand. Saiti, I'm glad you're back. I was telling everyone here that this is the real life, right? So these are the villages and you are living in that life where there is power cut, where there is not proper, reception, cell phone reception, and all these things. And we outsiders, we think, hey, everything is rosy. But anyways, before I continue, there are two questions that I want to ask here, Saiti. One, Vaishno Royala asked if you can share experiences in Auroville about lifestyle and priorities.
Auroville is a reflection of one own self. In Auroville, everybody, I think, will experience who they are. And Auroville is more about finding oneself. So we have everything pretty much sustainable. It's a beautiful place. There are people from more than 50 countries, and there are so many social enterprises. So everything is in place. There's so much of social impact related infrastructure that is in Auroville. But it really depends on how one comes here, in what state of mind you're here, and how many days you're here, and whom you meet. And that's the impact which Auroville will have on you.
Okay. And Auroville, do they have some method to bring this collaboration together?
Yes, definitely. Like individuals, as individuals, when you come to Auroville, there's a place called Savi, where you can go and explore all the opportunities for you to volunteer. So, it's a best way to actually induct yourself into Auroville as a volunteer, and then go work in a few organizations, and then realize like what you like more. And then almost all the organizations are pro collaboration. And they're always looking for partnerships. And as I said about the 4 elements, in many of the organizations, I see that a particular problem is being solved with a community approach. All the 4 elements are coming together, and I see that governments and nonprofits are working so closely with each other in Auroville, and that is why you can see a very good positive impact and real change in villages. Because as I said, in Andhra, I've seen that so many skill development related activities are happening, but in Tamil Nadu, I'm able to see that women are actually talking in English in the villages. So the change is more true, accurate, and more sustainable, because we are all coming together.
That's
yeah,
great.
I want to share my experience with Auroville. I visited thrice, and our master plan for the development of industrial estate at Nandigama was developed by the Auroville consultants.
Okay. Auroville is giving out beautiful blueprints like the sound gardens, bamboo farms, and so many different infrastructure related blueprints, which are adopted and taken by Auroville to different parts of the world.
Amazing, amazing. I have one more question for you here. So it's from Ajay Chandra. Hi, ma'am. How the agriculture is carried out in Auroville village, and what do they follow, conventional or modern methods? Do they use pesticides and fertilizers, and what are their organic methods? And
Auroville means organic. Auroville means reinvention of, everybody goes back to reinventing techniques and methods from our Indian villages, especially. Whoever is here from other countries also, they look at India very differently. There's a very different approach towards India for the foreigners who are here. And everybody is actually trying to adopt to our local techniques, and everything is pretty organic here. I have not seen much use of pesticides or anything unorganic inside or around Auroville. There's a great resistance, at least. I would not say everything is perfect and everything is organic, but definitely there is resistance for even people and tourists who come here are, conscious people.
Okay. Yeah, 25 years back itself, I think they have established this solar kitchen in Auroville.
Yes, yes.
Yeah. So I think, we are coming to an end, but I want to ask you a few questions. Now, it's just an open forum. We have adopted several villages, and we have students back in US who are contributing through hours, ideation, and all that. And there are educated people, professionals, and all these people are volunteering for our organization. But we want to expand our horizon and bring that awareness in India, especially because volunteering is not a key word there in India, right? So how do you think you can bring awareness in the outside world, not talking about villages, not talking about Oroville especially, we're talking about corporates. Even they do it just for, most of the corporates are just putting money in the PM's account.
Yeah, we have
Right?
thousands of crores in India that, turning out every year, and we don't know what's happening to all the money. And there are project reports coming out on impact because, this is the thing.
Yes, it's money. And there is that gap too. But how do we, because you, me, we are empowered people. Now we want to empower. How do we go about with the corporates, talk to them, or what is your suggestion? I just don't want to put words in your mouth.
I think like we're already like going in that approach of creating awareness of what is happening in villages. So corporates are very they're huge, humongous. So for them to come and fit into the village and to stay here, understand, maybe they don't have as I said, we need customized solutions for India. And that can't happen on a level of a corporate, and that is understandable. So we need to reinvent the problems. Like even the corporates need to know that they're not solving the right problem, or they're not looking, because sometimes it's just a lifestyle change or creating some awareness, or it's about showing them the right story that creates the whole change. You don't need to bring very complicated and complex solutions sometimes to the villages.
Agreed. Now I want to
and when we speak about volunteering, especially in India, there is a resistance towards volunteering for students, because students are not well compensated at a young age. They don't have the chance to self-discover themselves. So the moment they come out for volunteering, they're looking at having fun, which is pretty natural. But say, for example, in America, they know what is community service. They are well compensated from a young age. They have independence. So they can genuinely think about social impact and, giving back. So that's the only difference. But otherwise, there's no systemic change in people. As people, we are all the same. But it's about when we get the independence, when we get to self-discover ourselves, and how, at which stage of life are we able to make an impact. Because if we are making impact at a very, very later stage, we'll have some set patterns and expectations from the society and from the volunteering experience itself. But if we are self-contained, as a volunteer, we'll give better.
So true. That means we have to start this volunteering incorporating volunteering habits from school itself, childhood.
Exactly. Yes.
Yeah.
So children are the true change makers. We cannot, in the US, I was doing a mental, it was a social innovation project where I was working with mentally handicapped people in St. Anthony's Foundation. And there's one person who's mentally challenged, and he actually wrote that it's easier to raise younger men than to repair already created minds. It's easier to bring up young minds than to repair already created minds. So whatever change we are looking for creating, we need to create that change at the school level, because children are the true source who can grow up with that change. Because I don't think once somebody grows.
So true. Yeah, I think there is some reception problem again. But what Saiti is saying is so true. When we teach our kids and when we start incorporating volunteerism in our children's lives and in our schools, that is when we actually bring the true change. It may not be immediate change, but in 10 years down the lane, we will create that impact, which right now we are resisting. And the data also shows very well that Indians, we do not volunteer. We don't have that social impact. We are very religious people. We give to gods, we give to temples, we give to people who are suffering, but we are emotionally connected to problems, but we usually don't talk about the social impact. Giving to a God is giving us an empowerment, saying that, yes, our sins are forgiven. Or giving to some poor people, it is helping us thinking that, yeah, we have made somebody else better. So I was just, while you were reconnecting, Sahiti, what I was doing is, I was explaining that we don't focus on volunteerism, especially in India. We are very religious people. We are very emotional people. We get emotionally tied to, beggars or people saying that, hey, I have broken limb, I have broken arm, whatever it is. And then we try to give money to them, but we don't logically say that, how are we impacting when we are doing some activity or charity, and then we are not doing it in the right sense. So bringing that, a way of evaluating what our impact would be is the greater thing. Yeah, please go ahead, Sahiti.
So yeah, we need to induce this in children at school level.
Yes.
Like true change, like real change will happen only from there. And I think the new education policy is excellent, although it took 40 years to revise the education policy. I think we should be able to execute it faster with all the digital transformation that is happening.
Yeah, let's hope so. Let's hope so. But I want to open the forum for one more time for audience before we close this session. Sure. Anyone has any questions, suggestions, and applaud what Sahiti is doing. Not many people do this. She is actually bringing the genuine stories and struggles of people in villages and bringing them onto the social media platform by connecting people to the actual true life scenarios, outsiders. So that is how we are able to understand, yes, this is the true problem back in India, especially in rural areas. And she is identifying individual stakeholders, individual farmer, and highlighting their problems. So I want to open this forum for everyone to say a few words to Sahiti, please, so that she can continue with her journey in a more empowered way.
Yes, ma'am. This is Kirti.
Hi, Kirti.
Hi, Sahiti, ma'am. A question to you, like, it's not just question, it is what I have observed during my visit to villages and all. Just, I found some women that who are very interested to do something, like they have the thought to do something, but they are like in a society where, hello?
Yes, I can hear you.
Go ahead, please.
Yes,
go ahead, please.
But they are not in a situation, they are situated like they are got restricted for everything. They can't go out. Maybe their responsibilities like marital and all, or if they are like kids, they have these restrictions that no, you're not allowed to go and study in cities and all. So they have that passion to do something, but they are not in a position to do what they really want. Ma'am, that in that scenario, what I thought was the entire like the thought has to be changed. We have to change the society. But how will we do that?
Because, but Kavya, I think, see, there are this, Kirti, you have like the same kind of mindset. Don't you see it in the cities?
Yeah,
women, like, cities
also, yes.
There is the same thing happening in the cities. In which way is a woman independent from her marital or children, or how, in which way is woman independent in a city? So it's the same in both villages and cities, but there is more resistance in the villages. But all you need to do is inspire one woman in the village, and then it spreads like wildfire. That's about villages.
Exactly.
Yes, exactly. The nice one. Thank you.
Yeah, that is true. So actually, that gives me a thought. Is Motibai on this call? Motibai call lo unnama?
Yes, video in Telugu.
Yes, I am from Hyderabad.
Okay.
So we have, as you were saying, one woman, she can spread like wildfire. We do have such people in our villages. When we do awareness campaigns, we try to identify such people. And there are some women, especially there is this lady called Motibai. Maybe I should bring her sometimes on a video camera and ask her to, tell her story. But she has mobilized 4 village people, women, farmers to do crop conversion. Single lady. Amazing lady, and we have connected her to the collector, ma'am, and she is awesome. So I probably, Saiti, I will, yes.
Yeah, she's there, but I think you had to tell her specifically.
Yeah, Motibai, call pay nunnavamma. Oka nimisham vastava video call paiki unmute cheskoni. She's a tribal lady, and she does a lot of activities. So maybe we can connect her offline, Sahiti, and you can talk to her and write her story too, if your time permits.
Yes, I think that kind of woman has to be come out, ma'am. Actually, we have to showcase all these kind of ladies, because they'll become a friend fighters. If when someone see their struggle, and when someone see their success and how they are empowering others, actually that can inspire many more.
Agreed. So true, Kirti. Because this lady, we empowered her with few people. She goes to village, every single village, house to house, to talk to the farmers in the sun. And she has a vision that I want to convert this many farmers and this many acres. And she blindfoldedly goes and gets her things done. And she says, Madam, the reason I'm doing this is because all my people in my Tanda are moving out to cities. And I want to stop that. And I want to help these people stay here. So that is such a genuine cause for her. Yeah, Saiti, thank you. I know we will close this session pretty soon, but this was
so sorry for the inconvenience from my end.
No issue, Saiti, because this became like a family chat session more than a conference for us. We all come from the similar mindset and thought process, and so we don't want to let go of you yet. But
Motibai is there. Motibai is there, Cynthia.
Yeah, but I don't know if she wants to talk.
She's there. Video is on.
Oh, okay. Motibai, unmute cheskuntamma oka 2 నిమిషాలు.
Okay, madam. Okay, madam.
Addo. She is our hero.
Madam.
Good morning, Amma.
Hello.
Hello. Hello.
Chepamma.
Hello.
వినిపిస్తుంది
Good morning, madam.
బాగున్నారా?
బాగున్నానండి.
ఓకే. ఎక్కడుంటారు మీరు?
ఏ ఊర్లో అమ్మా మోతి?
మేడం వనపర్తి డిస్ట్రిక్ట్ మేడం.
పెద్దమందడి చీకర్
చెట్టు తాండ మేడం.
చీకర్ చెట్టు తాండ.
చీకర్ చెట్టు తాండ మేడం.
Okay, yeah. Okay. Yeah, so Saiti, you have to connect with her offline too if you get some time. She is an amazing lady. I have all the photographs, everything, videos. చాలా ఖచ్చితంగా వెళ్ళిపోతుంది మేడం. తన రాత్రిరైనా పగలైనా నాకు కాల్ చేసి, మేడం మాకు ఇది కావాలి, ఇది ఇట్లా జరుగుతుంది మేడం, ఏం చేయాలి? అలాంటి బీకన్ లీడర్స్ మనం ఇంకా ఎక్కువ మందిని తీసుకొని రావాలి. సో I think this is good. Motibai, ఒకసారి నేను నిన్ను ఇంకా సాయితిని కనెక్ట్ చేస్తాను ఒకసారి కాల్లో. దెన్ మళ్ళీ మనం ఇంకొకసారి తను ఒకసారి మీ స్టోరీ గురించి తెలుసుకున్న తర్వాత మనం we will have one more session. Is that okay, Saiti? Again, there's a connection issue. But yeah. So we have to conclude this. Let me wait for one more minute before Saiti comes back, and we'll conclude this formally. Kavya and Naini, do you have any closing thoughts, guys?
I don't have any closing thoughts. Do you?
Okay. All right. So I will give a minute. But Rekha or Kirti, right? Someone was talking,
Kirti.
Rekha.
Kirti.
Yes, yes, ma'am.
Yeah, Kirti. Yeah, now Saiti is here. Please connect with us offline, Kirti.
Sure, sure,
Um,
ma'am.
we want people who will speak up like you because there are a lot of people here. Oh, awesome. So on right timing, we got the current back, electricity back.
So there was
Okay.
some transformer thing which happened in the nearby thing. So we don't have an inverter here at the place where we live.
Okay,
Yes.
no issue. But yeah, we were actually closing the session and we wanted you to be back so that you can give some closing thoughts and then we can formally close this session. But it's an awesome discussion today. More rather than giving a speech, it was very collaborative and ideating. So any closing thoughts, Saiti?
I would say that whatever age and wherever we are, if you're looking at Indian villages, as your point of impact, if you want to create impact on villages, then start from wherever you are right now, because there are so many different approaches, people, and elements that are needed for the villages to just take off. Villages are ready. There is everything in place. There are very few, systemic resources they need and infrastructure that is needed that can transform India. We don't need villages to move out of the villages for the development to happen. So the real secret of rural economy to develop is actually we need to bring back the cities to our villages and the development to the villages. And most importantly, we need human resources. Like if somebody is really educated, like we need to go back there and we need to experience, and we need more and more leaders and educated people and people in power to be in the villages and to visit villages and to understand villages once again.
Awesome. Thank you. Yeah, there are some points coming up. Yes, Mr. Nagarajan, thank you for joining from Vellore. He joined. This video is on Facebook. We will share the link to all the groups that we have posted this discussion, and definitely empowering. But what I would suggest is that we shouldn't leave with this discussion, today's discussion. We should take it forward in next steps. Probably if some people come together from this group itself, and we have people like Moti Bai, whose stories can be highlighted, and we can take the support of Sahiti to talk to Moti Bai and also, bring those stories to the light. But at the same time, what I feel that is that we are on the right path, but together we will create that greater impact. So thank you so much, Sahiti, for your wonderful sharing your experience and also empowering us and connecting us to the roots. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much for this wonderful discussion from your end as well, because I think you asked the right questions and we could have the wonderful conversation because of the same. And you have a great team and you're doing a great job. And thank you so much for roping me in. We'll surely collaborate in the future and work together.
All right. Awesome. Thank you. Have a good night to everyone in India and good day to all. This is the link will be circulated one more time. And please, if you want to reach out to Sahiti, is there an email that you can please put in the group?
Yes, it's impactscientist@gmail.com. But you can reach out to me on all the social media platforms. I'm just called Impact Scientist on Instagram and Facebook. And the best way to reach out to me is LinkedIn.
Awesome.
Sahiti Devi on LinkedIn. Yes.
So we have Sahiti Devi on LinkedIn and all social media platforms. Impact Scientist, Sahiti Devi. These are the two keywords. Please remember, reach out to her, congratulate her, encourage her so that she can empower more people and more villages. And thank you so much, everyone, for joining. Have a good day.
Thank you so much, ma'am. It was a great session.
Thank you.